Alright, I got a 22 long rifle video for you here today. Finally got my hands on some of this Norma EcoSpeed stuff. They rate these at 1700 feet per second out of a rifle. And then these have a little flat nose on them, solid bullet. And then these, same thing, but they are fragmenting hollow point. A lot of people like to compare these to the federal personal defense because the punch there, because that also is high speed and flat nose. So we're going to do that today. I'm going to test out of a pistol and a rifle because these are advertised velocities for a rifle, whereas this is advertised for short barrel pistols. Okay, somewhere on there it says that. But we'll do all these from pistol and rifle. Ballistics gel test. You notice two different blocks. That one's looking pretty crappy for some reason, but that is 10% clear ballistics synthetic block. This is 10% Nox gelatin block. So I got my Ruger 1022 here for the rifle, 18.5-inch barrel. Got a Heritage Barkeep here with a 2-inch barrel. Taurus TX22 4.1-inch barrel, I believe it is. So we'll try to get some hits with all three of these to compare. By the way, there is a significant difference, in my opinion, between these two blocks. You'll likely see pretty vastly different wound channels in the Nox than you will the clear, and vice versa, and different penetration levels and all that. If you want to know more about the differences between these two blocks, there'll be a link in the description for the video explaining that. But I like to use both because some of you guys swear by the clear, some swear by the Nox, so I'm going to try to use both to the best of my ability in all upcoming videos. So we'll shoot these in this order. I'm most interested, and probably most of you are, comparing these two because these are the only two that are really comparable here, whereas this is a fragmenting round. But I also know people want to know what the difference is between this and this, both of these being the new Norma rounds. But these are both high velocity flat nose, so I'll go, let's go the Federal first, and then we'll follow it up with the Speed-22, which is also a high speed flat nose. And then lastly, since it's vastly different, we will do the fragmenting round here. So there's all three of the rounds up close. So you can see the Federal Punch and the EcoSpeed there are both flat noses. The flat nose does look a little larger on that Norma there, about the same maybe. And then here we got a hollow point that's filled, that is designed to fragment or segment. And as for gun firing order, we'll go shortest barrel to longest barrel. So as I said, we'll do the Federal Punch first, and we'll go shortest, mid, longest. Then we'll go to the EcoSpeed, shortest, mid, longest, and then the Power 22, shortest, mid, longest. And I'll do my best to get a chrono reading for you guys on the left there too as well, but no promises. However, if we don't get good reads in this video, I have tested these in other videos, and which I did get good reads from different length barrels. So you can check out the 22 playlist for that if you want. Real quick before we hit this with the rifle, because these are a little different spots than I wanted them to be. Again, these are both Federal Punch. There's from the Heritage Barkeep. There's from the TX22. Permanent cavity on that one. Curved right about there. Get a measurement on all this. And then there's from the TX22. And where's that one setting? Looks like right there. So I'm going to try to get the rifle in between here. There's your permanent cavities from the side there before we wreck this with the rifle. And I was wrong about that bottom shot. It's coming in right here. I'll show you all this in better detail coming up. But right where the split is, it started falling off the back. I had to scoot it up. The second one landed about here. And we'll get measurements, but let me hit it with the rifle real quick in between those two. Okay, and then there's from the rifle right in between, and there it is there. Far less penetration because we got expansion due to the higher velocity. Now let me repeat the same in the clear block, and then we'll get measurements on all these, and probably take them out at the end after we shot everything to compare. I forgot to put my other clear catch block behind there. So some of those went out the back. But I did do just a punch by itself gel test where we caught them all. I'll put a link to that in the description. So if you want to see how far they actually went when there's a backup block. And again, I mean, the reason these penetrate as far as they are, especially in the pistols, is because they're, you know, they're just a solid bullet. Pistol velocity is no expansion, so they travel pretty far. The idea is the flat nose gives a better permanent wound cavity, because it's like doing a cannonball in a pool instead of doing, you know, diving head first like a round nose. So with that said, you'll see this massive cavity here, and that is actually because this round tumbled. Common misconception. People see this oftentimes and go, oh my god, that round is amazing. Well, it's not actually amazing. All it did was tumble. Any round is capable of doing this. So this huge cavity here is actually the second shot. The first shot goes just over top of it here and exited the block. These are 16-inch blocks, by the way. If I remember correctly, they travel about 18, 19 inches if they don't tumble. Now the one right under it here, the second shot with the TX-22, it tumbled, made this massive cavity, and that's the only reason it stayed in the block, because there was some disruption here, and it turned around backwards currently in the block, almost exited, so it's sitting right there at 15 3/4 roughly. Then let's see, the rifle surprisingly zipped right through. I actually heard it hit the steel back there after it passed through the block, and you can see there, even though you're getting much higher velocity from the rifle, vastly smaller wound cavity, and that's because it did not tumble. So there's 100% evidence, proof. If you didn't want to take my word for it, that's from tumbling. Rifle with higher velocity obviously should do more damage. Did not. It looks like it tried twice. That's probably from the flat nose, that damage right there, that permanent cavity. And then you can see this one looks different, like just a design in it. It probably tried to tumble right there, then it yawed a little and then re-straightened itself before it zipped out the back. So that's the other thing you might notice. We got expansion with the rifle in this and the Nox, and so it didn't go very far because it expanded, and we did not through the clear. Well, that's one of the differences between the Nox and the clear that I discussed in that video. A lot of times hollow points and things that generally expand will not expand as well in the Nox, and therefore you get extra penetration. So that's one of those differences. Again, if you want to learn all the differences, check out the video linked in the description discussing the differences between these two blocks, which there's actually quite a few differences. So now we'll do the exact same test. We'll go shortest barrel to longest with the Norma EcoSpeed flat nose. All right, so that 600 whatever, that read that we got from the TX-22, that was definitely an error. Not only is that vastly lower than it should be, but it did cycle my action fully. So if it was that low powered a round, there's no way it would have cycled the next round, which it did. So that was a erroneous read. Now, I didn't mean to get these two so close. I meant to get the bar keep higher. But this was the bar keep, and then this was the TX-22. Zip, zip. Wow, those don't go that far. So there is from the bar keep, and then there's from the TX-22. It didn't go as far. Maybe there was something up with that round. I'll take another shot, get a read from it, and if it goes further, then we know there was something wrong with that load. But surprisingly, it chambered the next round, so I thought it was okay. Then there's the rifle. And where's the, oh, it's clear back here. Okay. And it turned around, so at some point it spun around. It must have been at the very last moment, because there is no large cavity from it tumbling. So at the very last moment it must have spun or something. I don't know, because usually you would see something. and I see nothing. So I don't know. So those you can see here we actually have larger cavities again from the pistols, where it like they tried to yaw and tumble a little but did not complete a revolution. So that's all you get. But from the rifle at the higher velocity, just zipped right through, but somehow ended up backwards without a large cavity anywhere from it tumbling. So that's kind of odd. Anyways, let's take another one from that TX-22, get a good read, and see if we get better penetration. If the next one goes a lot further, then we know there was definitely something up with that round and not just an erroneous read. So 1096, so that's a lot more like it, and that's an accurate read. Came in there. So this was from the TX-22. I thought I might rifle for a second. So that's from the TX-22, and right here. So we still got more penetration from the lower velocity of the bar keep. That's interesting. I don't know if you guys noticed, but those are coming in. I didn't really pay attention to the other ones, but those are coming in pretty well under advertised velocity. You must take a 22, 24-inch barrel to achieve the 1700, I guess. Alright, I should be able to tell by reviewing the footage, but this farthest left one here, which was either the TX-22 or the bar keep, kind of spun and stopped right there. And then this one of these was the other pistol round, and it, you can actually kind of see it right there. It's down in the block there. And then the rifle came through the bottom there and is sitting right there in this one. So let's take these, whatever they were called, the fragmenting ones, and then we'll get measurements on all this, pull them all out, and examine. Power 22, that's what it's called. I can remember this one, but this one I always go blank trying to remember the name of it. So we'll put this into both blocks, and then we'll examine up close and get them out and take measurements and all that. So we got an error on the first two through the pistols, but we got one on the rifle there, the chrono reading. And I'm noticing they are all over the place. Those are nowhere near 1700 feet per second advertised out of a rifle. We got, what, 13 through the clear with the rifle and 14 through this one. That's way off from 1700, which is probably why they didn't fragment. So, I mean, there they are. This one did a little out of the rifle, I'm assuming. But those two held together. And, well, let's see what happened here. Okay, through the nocks, we are getting fragmentation. Let me get set up here and we'll take a better look at this. I'm going to set the chrono up here and try to get a couple of reads from the pistols. I'm actually just going to try to get 5 from each here. We'll do the Rough Rider first, then the TX-22, and then the rifle. I am really questioning the consistency of these loads. Well, I'm not sure what the heck's going on. I could not get a read to save my life out of the bar keep, but they seemed decently consistent out of the TX-22 and the rifle. Though obviously 1400 is much lower than the advertised 1700. So anyways, with that little 24 grain bullet, decent permanent cavity there on that one. Not so much on this one. Obviously these two are from the pistol. Pretty short penetration because that bullet doesn't weigh anything. Got more out of the rifle due to the higher velocity. Had some fragmentation there, and it may have flipped around there. Okay, and then in the brown, what do we got here? I believe that was the rifle. You can see the fragmentation. There's the base. So then the two pistol shots there and there. Let me find these real quick. See what's going on. I gotta flip them over. These are flipped over now to show this a little bit better again. So here's the rifle, and then we had the pistol one right under it, and there's that, not fragmented. And then the other pistol round, we did get fragmentation right here, is from that pistol round, and then it sets right there. By the way, if you happen to notice all this crap earlier, that's from earlier tests. This is just a catch block. That is not from these rounds. All right, so Federal Punch and the Knox Ballistics gel through the pistols. One of them, it's hard to see, we got sitting here about 16.5 inches. The other one traveled to the split, as I said. It's hard to see, but it's sitting right there. So about 19.5, almost 20. And then through the rifle, sitting right here, because it expanded so nicely from the extra velocity, 10.5, 10.75. Then the Federal Punch in the clear block. Remember, I only had just this one block up at first. My mistake. So both the pistols, no, sorry, one of the pistols, which I believe, I have to go back through the footage here, editing, was the Rough Rider. I keep calling it that. The bar keep. The little revolver, I believe, is the one of the pistols that exited the block. I believe this huge thing here where it tumbled was the TX-22. It's resting right there. I got that a little too far out there. Again, these are 16-inch blocks, so that's coming in about 15.75 right there. And then the rifle one zipped through also before I got smart and added that block. Again, like I said, I've tested just the punch, just did a punch review video. Link in the description of that if you want to see how far they actually penetrated through the rifles and the pistols. But if I remember correctly, it was about 18, 19 inches, something like that. But there'll be that video there if you want to know for certain. Okay, then the Eco Speed, the flat nose. One of the pistols, remember it kind of curved on us, yawed here, whatever it did, sitting right there, about 9.75. Then another through a pistol, ended up right here because it did not curve. There's a nice straight trajectory there. It's hard to see, but it's down in there behind that piece from a different round. So that's coming in about 13.5. And then the rifle round came in on the bottom here. Through the rifle, it came out the bottom of this block, and it's resting right here, right around 16 inches. Then in the clear ballistics, we got some wacky results here. So this was out of the Heritage Bar Keep, which is coming in about 9.5 there. These were both from the TX-22, coming in right at about 8. Generally, this stuff seems a little tougher and gives less penetration if the bullet stays the same shape, whether it be mushroomed or solid like that. So that's probably why we're getting a little short penetration on those. Then the rifle went clear out here, about 26.5, 27 inches there. So that was neat. So a lot of times these blocks are pretty predictable, or I usually get more expansion with an expanding round through the Knox than I do the clear. So thus usually we get more penetration through the clear because of less expansion. However, on non-expanding rounds typically get less expansion in the clear than the Knox because it's a little firmer, different composition and whatnot, even though they're both 10% ballistics gelatin. But today here we're seeing the opposite with that one rifle round. Went way, way further, so I don't know what's up with that. Sometimes this stuff throws you through for a loop. And then lastly, the Eco Power 22, the supposed fragmenting round. You can see we got one there, and one there. So through the rifle, which did fragment, coming in right about 10 inches there. One of the pistols that did fragment at least some is sitting there right at 11.5 roughly, or just shy. My guess would be that's probably the TX-22 with the extra velocity. And then one of the pistols did not fragment, probably the barkeep, and we got 14 inches on that. So then over here, and yes, I know my measurement's a little wacky and all that, we got about 7.5, 7 3/4 on that, but we do have a little bounce back there, which happens often with this clear stuff. If you count that, it's a little over 8 inches. Got the other one there coming in a little over 9. And then the rifle round, even though it's the only one that fragmented whatsoever in this clear stuff, came in here at just over 13 inches there. So there's not a lot to see on the ones that didn't do anything, that didn't fragment or whatever, didn't mushroom, but we'll see what I can get pulled out here, and we'll do a little quick comparison on the table. All right, there's everything from the blocks. On this side, we have everything out of the Knox. On this side, everything out of the clear. I'll explain where there's far less here in a second. So this gray row here is the Federal Punch. Then this is the Eco Speed. And then this is the, there I go again, not remembering what it's called, but that Norma that's supposed to expand. Okay, so out of the Knox, the brown, and the clear, from the pistols, no expansion whatsoever. There's 2 missing here because remember, 2 of them went out of the block before I set the second block behind it like a genius. There's the expanded one from the rifle in the Knox. Okay, and then these all did the same thing. Obviously they're not supposed to expand, but it did not expand from the rifle either. However, I would have to say that the reason that nose didn't deform at all is probably the much lower velocity, because we were just getting like 13 and, well, no, they might have been about the same. I can't remember. But regardless, no deformation from the Eco Speed or whatever it was called. Whereas with the Punch, out of the rifle velocities, you're getting really good mushroom there, at least close range. And then these were the fragmenting ones from Norma. This is from the Knox. So one of the pistol expanded and the rifle obviously expanded, fragmented, and one from pistol did not. Most likely the barkeep. I'll have to review the footage. And when they fragment there, that's all you're getting. That is the largest piece I could find, so that's the largest piece you're going to get. And a lot of them are averaging even smaller than that. And then from the clear, we got the rifle to fragment. None of the pistol fragmented, and therefore that's what they look like from the pistols in the clear ballistics gelatin. So a good comparison of these 3 rounds, in my opinion, would be the CCI Stinger and the Aguila Super Maximum. Those are really high velocity hollow points, and in my opinion, they perform better. So I did do the Super Maximum versus the Punch here. Put a link in the description for that video if you want to check that out. But I've also done a lot more 22 gel tests, and including with pistols and rifles and velocity tests and whatnot. So I'd really just recommend that you go and check out the 22 playlist on the channel. Everything rimfire that I've ever done will be in there. Again, don't forget to check out the gel block video if you want to know the differences between those 2 blocks. I have plenty more 22 stuff coming up. I am not done yet. I got more stuff to test, and I'll also be doing some long range testing eventually as well. But I wanted to thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. By the way, for anyone who's interested on the expansion of that Punch through the rifle, right at about 3/8 of an inch there, maybe a hair shy. 3/8 of an inch is 0.375, so 37 caliber there. Pretty nice expansion on that. You know, sometimes I get comments when I test these pistol rounds through rifles telling me I'm dumb and whatnot because, well, that's not what it's made for. Well, you know what? Sometimes it's fun to experiment, and sometimes you get really good results, because look at this. Through a rifle, at least close range there, that would make a really good small game cartridge, because not only do you get massive expansion, but it's pretty good penetration too. So I don't care that they made these for pistols. It's a pretty good little rifle round.